Hey guys, we're the Somerset. We're here at our album release party with Music Connection.
To the words of a prophet, who still can't turn a profit, cause I don't fit in with the in crowd, but I'm too Hollywood to go back to my hometown, cause they think that I'm famous.
I guess this process of making this album took a long time, and it got to a breaking point where we were all so lost that we sat down and decided that maybe this has run its course, maybe it's time we just hang it up, but let's at least finish the album and put out the album as a farewell and a thank you to our fans. And thank God we did that, because we finished the album, realized we were insanely proud of it, realized it's the best thing we'd ever done, and that it would be a shame to give this up yet, because we feel like this is really good.
There's more to life than all my problems. Maybe there's still hope for me to stop.
I think it's like different for everybody. For every scenario, but I think for the reasons that we found ourselves questioning, like, hey, do we need to take a break from this? You know, take some space from it. I think it's worth mentioning that when you sort of feel weighed down by other factors other than the music you're making, and you sort of are getting your head cluttered up with other aspects of the industry, and that's sort of what's leading you to think, hey, maybe we should, separate from this for a second, then I recommend you go make a record in your bedroom with just you and the band, and I honestly think that's like the best therapy you could have.
We had put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and I think when we did decide to break up and took that pressure off of ourselves, that actually is what helped us a lot, and we realized, like, what we have here is a great thing. So it took us breaking up to really kind of look back and appreciate what we had.
Go make a record in your bedroom on a laptop, and then revisit that thought.
Don't stop chasing great and keep pounding the pavement. So I'd much rather die trying to make something.
Yeah, I think with Legendary we saw a lot of different doors open that we never thought we would see. And we got kind of a taste of this whole different side of life as a musician, but not quite everything I think we could have wanted from it. And I think, at least for me, especially with writing songs, I just spent so much of this album process thinking we needed a bigger and better song the whole time, when in reality you can't really predict a hit song. You just have to be so in tune with yourself that people start to notice. So I think we were just putting so much pressure on ourselves to just have this metaphorical song that you can't really kind of put a price or prediction on. So when it got to the point where we finally just like let our guard down and stopped overthinking it, was when we realized that we were the most in tune with ourselves that we had ever been, and we had really taken this back to the basics of how we fundamentally do this. So just, I guess, don't think so much, don't put so much pressure on yourself, because that's hard to really figure out who you are when you're kind of taking into consideration so many other people.
Well, generally speaking, it was, for the most part, it was a lot of songs that Brian had written over the past couple years, with the exception of a few, that he would just bring to us, and you'd have like kind of a skeleton demo, really rough.
Usually pretty messy.
Yeah, usually not very good.
Usually as messy as the inside of my brain.
The songs were really great, and honestly, it was very easy to just start putting the pieces together. Mm-hmm. We would start building some drums and rhythm section and just everything. It just came together because the songs were so well written. There weren't many questions. And the great thing about doing a record yourself is it's the most genuine representation that you can possibly have of what your band sounds like. I mean, no one, with the exception of one song, these songs were produced and mixed by John and I in a bedroom.
In a bedroom.
And so if anyone has any question what the Somerset sounds like, it truly sounds like.
I'll give you.
And if you don't think it sounds good, then
yeah, well, maybe you don't like the Somerset.
That's just how we sound, I guess. We just sound like shit.
Get my feet back on the ground and pull my head out of the clouds. I think it's time.
I think it's like a different.
Yes and no.
Yes and
no. Yeah.
Especially at this point, we've been a band for 9 years. There's so much to be thankful for from all the people we've made records with. We made Everything's Fine with a guy named John Fields, who's just an absolute legend, and I feel like kicked our ass as a band. And then we made Legendary with so many different producers around LA and people who have just a wonderful just dichotomy of credits, and I think we learned so much from so many people and really kind of went to school on how to really make records and write songs.
Exactly.
And there's a lot that we learned from a lot of people. At some point, you should always take what you've learned and see if you can apply it to yourself and just do it yourself. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Think it's time for me to figure me out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, 100%.
It is so much better.
There's so many times
Shit.
there's so many times just when we were making this record that we'd ask questions like, what did like John Fields do here? Like what did Dan Book do here? The guy who worked on our last record, and you kind of take along the years little bits of snippets of advice that you've learned along the way, apply it to yourself.
I think there are parts of our record, I could point them out, but I won't do that because that'll take a while, where I could say like this was influenced by Dan Book, who produced Legendary. This part I was kind of thinking about what John Fields would do, thinking about what Matt Gray would do, who did our first record. You learn a lot from the people that you work with.
Yeah. As a band, I don't think we would be who we are as musicians and writers without the people who made us feel really dumb when we first worked with them.
Definitely true.
But I think that's amazing, Good grief. Like, I remember the first time tracking guitars with John Fields on our second record versus the last instrument I tracked on that record, and that was like a different musician within weeks. It was just like, he just changed so much in my mind and how I play guitar.
I remember when we recorded Love Like This, Matt Gray was like, simplify your drums, like he told me, play to the music, don't try to be fancy, don't show off, and that was just a tip that I've always kept with me since, that was our first record, that was 2009, so you definitely learn from who you work with.
I'm a bit too pop for the punk kids, but I'm too punk for the pop kids. I don't
think that was as much of a musical statement as much as it's like a statement on just like how people feel about themselves. I don't think anyone feels like they fit in any genre. I'm speaking for Brian here, but that's always how I.
Yeah, I think especially we live in this I think John Mayer called it the skip forward generation, which I always loved, and like we just live in this age of the internet where people identify with more than one thing. I think like the idea that you had to listen to your one genre and stick to that, it totally doesn't exist. And I think there's just so many people who are afraid to like admit that they are more than one characteristic of their identity. And I think for us, it was writing this song about kind of looking back at the last several years and how we got to here and how we've played shows with pop acts and we go do that and the crowds will come up to us after and be like, oh man, you guys are like the punk band, but then we'll go do the Warped Tour and we're the pop band, and that rules. And I think for a while like that we thought that sucked. And
we said that line. We've said
we
that
used to joke
lyric
about that
behind closed doors in like every green room
For a while.
Any meeting we've ever been in, we're like, we're a bit too, we've said that, so we've kind of carried that around with us, and Brian finally sang it.
Alright, if you hear the song, turn it up real loud.
I think it's funny because I guess it's inspirational, but for a while I look at a lot of it and feel like it's self-deprecating.
Yeah, I love that.
I actually
you feel inspired by it. For us, yeah.
For me, a lot of it's like really self-deprecating. I don't know. I feel like it was this album that was for so long about being terrified of making another album, about like not ever actually growing up as a human being, about never actually amounting for certain things. And then kind of like shuffling all of these songs along the way, and then Figure Me Out was the last song that was written, and Figure Me Out made all these other songs start to make more sense together. I remember when we sat down and broke up, when we were trying to figure out, okay, well, you know what, let's just take the songs we have and let's make an album. And I remember John kind of being like, Brian, I don't like, as an outsider to some of the songs I'd written, I remember John looking at me and being like, I don't know if you noticed it because like you're very attached to these songs, but to me, even these songs feel like the end of something. Like thematically, a lot of these songs to me felt like it was the end of something. I just don't know if we knew what it was the end of, but to me it's like, okay, this was the end of a major period of our lives. Now it's on to what's next. I think it's on to like a new chapter and a new version of us that is just a lot better and a lot more in tune with ourselves.
I think less scared too.
Yeah, I think it's fun to like, this album's gonna come out and I don't really have any expectations in like the best way, because 6 months ago we weren't a band, and you start to really appreciate like what you maybe used to take for granted sometimes. So I don't have any expectations anymore, and that rules.
Figure Me Out.
right now probably Figure Me Out because it's the most
yeah.
like honest and autobiographical tale, like sonically and thematically, of kind of what we're about. I think it's very inviting. It's like, hey, here we are. This is who we are. It's all on the table. Either love us or get the fuck out.
Agree.
So I can make my parents proud. Hold my feet, don't fail me now. 'Cause
Getting back on the road, we haven't toured as much in the last year and a half, and I think we have a lot of songs we're really proud of that we'd like to play for people. And then I think it's just, I don't know, I hope there's a handful of experimenting with new things that we haven't done before. Like, it's nice after playing for 9 years to try new things, and to meet new people. Lots of that. Hey guys, we're the Somerset. Our new album, Stories for Monday, is officially out right now. You can check us out this spring on the Stories for Monday tour. We're playing all your cities in North America. We're excited to see you. I know it's been a while.